Hey, good afternoon. I am so glad you guys joined me today. I am here with Linn Rivers, and many of us wonder how we find ourselves in a situation of clutter and how we're going to get out of it. But many of us don't stop to think about what happens to the next generation. Now, Lynn grew up in a home where there was a hoarder, and she was able to recover from that. And then not only that, but she got involved in holistic healing. And many of us would like to just learn by observing. Lynn actually learned by doing. And so if you've been in the trenches and you've had some really hard luck in your life, this is a really great chance for you to turn up the radio and listen to us. So please help me welcome Lynn to today's show, and let's have this conversation so that we can be more honest with ourselves about what's actually happening in our lives and how we find the inner healing that we've been looking for. Hey, Lynn, how are you today?
I'm fantastic. Thanks so much for having me on.
So let's go back to your story because I'm really 100% sure that everybody has a story similar where we grew up and we
Mhm.
repeated what we knew. Tell us about when your father was a hoarder and how that affected you as a teenager after your mother died. Now you have to navigate all the stuff.
Mhm.
And did it carry over into your current situation?
No, so that did not. So I actually remember being a child and our closets being stuffed with just all the clothes and toys and stuff, just like literally just thrown into the closet. You couldn't open it without stuff falling out. And so there was that part of it. But then with my father, he would go and pull things out of trash cans. He would see a vacuum and he'd go and pull it out of someone else's trash can and take it home, be like, oh, we might need this extra part. And his garage, I wish I could paint the picture of what it was. So it was a large two-car garage with the extra back aisle, and everything was stacked literally to the ceiling. And he had one little walkway that he could walk through to get to the door of the
Wow.
house. Everything else was stacked literally to the ceilings with everything you can imagine. Now, to my dad's defense, he did always find reasons to repurpose something. He actually utilized his whatever he found and pulled out. It might be years later, but he's like, "Oh, I have this one tool." And it's kind of funny to look back at it, but the bigger thing is he had a fear of not having enough. So my dad went through a really tumultuous ride too. He lost his wife, he lost his mom, his brother, all of these people too. And so he also grew up in a really tough environment and he had a lot of health issues. So I have a lot of compassion for who he was, but he also felt this sense of, as long as I cling to everything else, I have something, because he had the abandonment wounds too. And so I could see it playing out and how he accumulated everything. And there was one point where he was in the hospital and I went to visit him. It's before I stopped talking to him because I did have to cut my dad off because it was a really toxic connection. But I went to go visit him and I went through his pantry and got rid of stuff that had been in the pantry for over 16, 17 years. There are things from early 2000s in there and they were obviously expired. Some of the things were molded just sitting in there and I threw them out. And when he got home, he called me and we had a really nasty conversation, but he said, "Why did you throw all that stuff out? That's backup food. What if I need that?" And I was like, "Dad, I only threw away the stuff that was molded and expired." He goes, "No, those things are fine past date." And that's his mentality. He would hold on to everything. And I think towards the end of that, he really started being okay with, I ended up ripping up his carpets and laying down new floors for him in the house because he had a lot of dogs that just used the bathroom in the house. And I was like, you can't live like this. Something's got to change. And so I did slowly just start changing his house for him. And he was okay with it. But I had to get an okay from everything that I threw away. So that was where that started. And then the way it carried into my life was I did not wanna have anything in my house. I was a minimalist. I liked having very little because it felt good to be in an open space that felt, like, clean and energetically free, and the fact that your space is a huge representation of your internal space, right? Like, what's outside of you is, like, saying, "Hey, this is what's going on inside." And so for myself, I became a minimalist very early on in my young adult years. And to this point, I'm still pretty minimal. I don't have a lot of stuff. I have a lot of books. throughout the house, but otherwise I can probably move with my car and just pack up what's in the house with it. I don't cling to that idea that I have to have very little. I do allow myself to, okay, like I do have a treadmill, I do have a massage chair, I have these things that are not necessities, but they feel good to me and they help me. So I allow myself those things. But the second I notice that anything might start cluttering up, like even a drawer, I go through it and I'm like, oh, not using this, not going to use this. I know this isn't necessary. And I clear things out pretty often just to make sure that I'm not building up things that don't serve me anymore or are not going to be used because it's a divine connection with my internal space too, and it keeps me clear on both levels.
Wow, that's so good. Thank you so much, Lynn. I really appreciate your time today. Tell our listeners where they can go to find you.
Yes, you can actually go to www.linnrivers.com, and that's Linn rivers.com.
Well, thank you guys. And please, in the meantime, take care of yourselves, give yourselves compassion and love.